our next speaker is from Freedom Alliance. Please welcome Martin Davies.
Thanks very much. And apologies I've got paper on. My memory is not as good as these guys whenever I've got some important things to say, so I want to make sure we do that. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, because that is the correct term for everybody who's here, now and in the future. Yes! Thanks first of all for coming here and standing here. It was quite nice earlier on, wasn't it? Somebody said the sun was going to come out. I said in Newcastle, never. But it's great to be here and standing here together to consign to history Digital ID for the UK. Consigned to history, never to be seen again, and that's what we've got to do this time. Make sure they never try and get it back. So, I just want a round of applause, by the way, for Diane and the UK column. How long have they been doing this for us? 20 years. 20 years this year. Thank you so much to everybody that's been doing it. Telling the truth, unbiased views. Brilliant. So as I say, it's Martin Davis. I am from Freedom Alliance. The Freedom Alliance party was born out of the lockdown madness. So we're quite a young political party. And we are just ordinary people, the same as you, who have been to protest, and they are such an important thing. But we felt they needed a political foot in the door as well. So we started that. We're still all volunteers, we still have jobs, still do it part-time. But we've got a political, and my lovely wife's getting blown away with that flag, which is about twice the height of her. So if you see her floating across on that, please let me know. So, hands up here who think they know everything about DigiID, or enough about DigiID and the risks to it. Let's have a show of hands. Because I feel like I'm going to be preaching to the choir. I'm more interested in those people who have come who don't know everything about it. Hands up those who have just come because it's interesting, sadly. Brilliant. Thank you for being so open-minded and coming on here. You're the people we need to talk to. So I want you to take three things away. I'm going to talk about three things in the next 10 minutes. The first one is a warning, and the warning is about the government's sleight of hand with DigiID. I'll come back to that. Second thing, how to talk to your friends and family if they still don't understand it. Because I know that's a real toughie, isn't it, at times. Third, and this may be anathema to a lot of people here, is why your vote matters. Now, I'm in a political party, I'm bound to say something about that, aren't I? But there is a very good reason why. So first, the warning. The government, then, has given us, all as truthers then, something to hang on to with DigiID. The Brit card, if I can talk about it like that. And they've said, here you go, get your mitts around that, protest it, do all this stuff. And they're doing a magician's trick over here. Over here is DigiID. Over here, things like the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Bill, which is just going in. Also, they're not that bothered about DigiID in itself, whether it's a smartphone app, whether it's a physical card, whatever. What they're bothered about is a totally interconnected database of all of your information. Now that includes, and this is not a comprehensive list, your NHS number, your NI number, your DVLA information, your passport, banking, and that's not in there yet, and then anything else that is a digitisation, add that to your profile, and the government will have your life in one database. That's what they're interested in the name of security and efficiency. Anybody believe that? No. Absolute crap. So, what is it they're trying to do then? Well, in 2023, you know, the DVLA was put on it. Okay? Also, HMRC, that's in beta test at the moment, and that's going on. So your tax system, everything is starting to go on this database, and they're doing it quietly, building our digital prison, whilst we protest about a DigiCard. So, first word of warning, don't be fooled by them just talking about one thing. My personal belief is that they're going to ditch this. They're going to announce it and say, actually, we've listened to the public. We're not having a DigiID after all. Aren't we good as a government because we listen to the people? Yeah? Excuse me, I nearly swore. Apologies, children. But absolutely not a chance, and that's correct, because what they're doing is building infrastructure behind the scenes, and they'll just turn it on one day, lock that digital prison. So we've got to be really careful, and this is why I'll lead you to the next thing, which is, well, actually, no, let's go back to something. Who do you think said this? And I'm going to quote it. This was the Prime Minister. Said, instead of wasting hundreds of millions on compulsory ID cards, let's put the money into police officers on the streets. Who do you think said that? That was Tony Blair. Whew. You're allowed to boo, by the way. You are allowed to boo. Thank you. Blair actually said that in 95. The overlord of this digital ID stuff, he said that in 95, and 4 prime ministers post that, Conservatives, have said pretty much exactly the same thing. We will not have digi-IDs in the UK. So what's changed? But what has changed? All that's changed is the world government now is pushing it right the way across all the countries. 100 countries now have it in plan or are doing it right now. And you see the impacts, don't you? So think of it this way. Canada, a couple of years ago, peaceful protesters like all of us, they had their bank accounts frozen simply because they supported the truckers. Bank accounts frozen. Vietnam, 2 months ago, September and October this year, has deactivated 80 million bank accounts. That's 43% of the accounts that existed in Vietnam were deactivated because the owners of those accounts didn't choose to, or didn't get to it, give their biometric data to the government. And they still exist. Those accounts exist. All the assets are frozen until they do the biometric thing. So this is exactly what they're going to do with all of this. They're going to inconvenience us to such an extent that we have to accept this as the norm. We're not going to do that, are we? We don't mind being inconvenienced. And if you don't mind, I'm just going to demonstrate how. Does anybody recognise what this is? It's a cassette tape. Well, what's on it? It's a mixtape. Anybody as old as me and used to do mixtapes in the, 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever? And what do we do when the tape fell out? You got a pencil, a hexagonal pencil, and you spent blooming ages, didn't you? Putting that tape back in. 15, 20 minutes, sometimes an hour if it had gone and flattened and you thought, oh my God, why did we do that? Because it mattered, because it had all our favourite songs on. So for the under 40s and the children in here, imagine not being able to get your Spotify liked songs anywhere. And you had to re-put everything. You can't do that with a pencil, can you? You've got to do it with something else. So you have to inconvenience yourself in order to do that. Which brings me to how do you deal with your friends and family? When they talk about, who's heard the phrase, I don't do anything wrong, so why should I be worried about it? Okay? We all know that one, don't we? We might have even said it ourselves. But how do you deal with it when somebody says that? Now I'm going to try and do something from Newcastle in a moment, but I had 2 examples here. First, given that the HMRC is in there and the DVLA, it's already on the database, what would happen if your bank forgot or didn't manage to send that data to the HMRC, and so all your data was frozen because apparently, according to the government, you hadn't paid your taxes? That's not paranoia, that's just digital dependency between all of the systems. Secondly, I'll read this one. What would happen if you had a speeding fine? So your DVLA over here recognised that you had a speeding fine you hadn't paid. And this is the Newcastle one. It's the Gallowgate end, isn't it? If you're a Toon fan, it's the Gallowgate end where you get to. Imagine your ticket stopped in the turnstile. You go, what the hell's that? You were locked out of it because you hadn't paid a speeding fine. The DVLA had data on you, which was inside the central database, which attached to that. That's the sort of thing that could do. You can shout at me for this one. I was a banker for 37 years. Boo again, go on. But I know just how easy it was to cancel a customer's account. It would take about 10 seconds. That's one customer. And you would not be able to get into your account. Imagine that level of power being in the government, anywhere. Imagine it being on an algorithm. The government had nothing to do with it. There was an algorithm that said, right, if this person did this, it could be your drunken retweet. Might be alright now, might be treated as banter now, mightn't it? But in the future, then that could be something that the government do not like, and they just lock you down. So when you're talking to your friends and family, some of them might have electric cars. God knows why, but some of them might have electric cars. How would they handle their lives if that electric car just stopped? Because they've done more than 250 miles a week. That might be in the algorithm. Use as many examples of what they have Not for what they do today, but what they might do tomorrow. Because that's what it is. That's the mission creep, isn't it? Have we seen any other mission creep of late? So here's a good question for you again. We might have a bit of a higher, higher, lower, lower on here now. In 2023, Online Safety Act came in. Grantley was slightly late on this one, but how many people do you think were arrested in the UK for communications offences? You've read the stuff? Absolutely right. This gentleman over here, bang on. 12,000. Russia only had 3,300, and they got twice the population. So take that back, that's 33 people every single day, neighbours, friends, whoever, who were visited by the police, taken down to the cells, and they were charged. Well, not all of you charged, but 12,000, 33 a day. You see the videos, don't you? There's 2, 3, 4, 5 officers going in there. That's your taxpayer money. It's your money, just for communications offences. That's the mission creep that's happening from Online Safety Act. So can you imagine what's going to happen when we all have, if we ever get there, is a digital ID? If that database exists, this is the real danger, and it's coming. So, let's not be all doom and gloom about it. What can we do now? So I've demonstrated how we got over it through human ingenuity with our mixtapes. We managed to fix those, didn't we? How do we fix it now? So, I see it over there. Raise that, raise that. Thank you. Cash is king. Cash is king. Absolutely. It can't be traced, it can't be tracked, it can't be frozen, and it can be used in most sensible shops. What a shame this lovely shop over here doesn't take it. So we all walked out. And that's what we do. Cash is king, but you have to use it. I have friends and family who go, oh yeah, that's fine, isn't it? Because in the back of my wallet, I have a spare 80 quid. I said, no, that's not how it works. How it works is you use the cash, and you have your bank card as your emergency, just in case that thing is a little bit more expensive. That's the way you do it. The more everybody uses cash, the better it will be. And just forget CBDCs, whatever happens. Just kick them into touch. So, first of all, cash is king. Second, minimise your digital footprint. Now, I mentioned DVLA is on here. So, I changed address last week. So I had to change it on DVLA. And I went and thought, this is the easy way, isn't it? Gov.uk, One ID login. And I have one of those because I had to do a tax return for a few years. And I thought, principles, mine. You've got to abide by your principles. So I went to the post office, got a form, filled the form in, put it in an envelope, put a stamp on the envelope, and put it in a post box. And my address is still getting changed. It's just I did not use the gov.uk ID. They will not inconvenience me to think that this is the norm. So everybody has to think about it. Do you really need that app? Do you really need to do it that way?
Yes.
Do you really need to go to the supermarket and use your bank card? Why don't you just go to the local shop, who's probably, their children probably go to school with your children? Go and do that and encourage every single person to do it. If you can do that, then the cash is king, your digital footprint will be less, and their whole system becomes obsolete. At the most, it'll become obsolete. But at the least, they're going to have 20-30% of the population who aren't using it. And that's the way. So even if they bring this stuff in, even if they have the database, we can still beat it. So the third, I think Diane talked about MPs earlier on. Did a little bit of research. You guys have got three Labour people here, haven't you? All of whom had about 50% of the votes. I checked out their record. They all cautiously support digital IDs. Cautiously support. What does that mean? Well, I reckon it means that because they've got the Labour whip, they don't really agree with it, but they're going to vote the same way that Starmer votes because they want to keep the whip and keep their job. So I would say, go and talk to them, go and ask them, is that what they're going to do? Are they going to vote for this? Are they going to follow Davos, Starmer, all that stuff? Or are they actually going to follow the will of the people here and vote against it? So you go and ask them, every single one of you ask them. If one person asks, you don't know whether you're the 1,000th, the 10,000th, the 100,000th person that tips the balance. So don't think, oh, maybe not. Got to do it. Go and talk to them, find out. But if, as I probably think, that they will follow Starmer, this is where I'm going to ask you for your vote. Vote for the independents, proper independents like Freedom Alliance, people who put it out there that tell you digital IDs should be gone. Digital infrastructure should be used in the right way but not connected. It's the connections that are the problem. So, we're not Luddites in technology. We love technology, but technology should not control the people. We should control the technology and use it in the right way. I'm going to close now when the sun's come out. A lot warmer than it was to start with. Thanks, guys. But I'm going to close by saying, I asked you for three things. Yeah? First of all, take that warning. Look elsewhere. When they're showing you this, look at this. Secondly, spread the word. Talk to your friends, talk to your family, and just see what is it about their lives that would cause them problems. Because if they don't agree with you there, you can't bludgeon them into it. Pressure your MPs and then vote for genuine independence. Because if we don't all act now, all of us act now, we'll wake up one day to a digital prison that nobody voted for at all. Thank you very much for your time.